Yeah, I can start off. Hey y'all, my name is Matthew Vang. I use he, they pronouns. I'm a second year MPP, and I'm also one of the co-presidents of MAP. So very deeply connected with MAP and the work that we do. I'm one of the panelists for today. I received a scholarship from Price as well as a scholarship from USC in general. So I'd be happy to share about my experiences, the things that I wrote about, and whatever other questions folks have. And I think just as a disclaimer, we've started recording. So if you don't feel comfortable with being recorded, feel free to have your camera off. If you're okay with it, then yeah, just for future reference for y'all and for the other folks who wouldn't be able to make it, we are recording this panel.
I can go next.
Okay.
Hey everyone, my name is Preet. I am currently a master's student in international public policy and management. I'm receiving both scholarships from IPAM, but also outside organizations, so I can help with that. But yeah, I'm excited for this.
Harry or Russell, you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name's Harry. I go by he, they. I'm a first year earning my master's in public administration and my master of social work. So if anyone's interested on dual degrees, hit me up. I went to undergrad at UC Riverside, where I got my business and education degree, and I'm originally from the Bay Area. So if anyone is from there, hit me up as well. About scholarships, I've earned a couple, 2 from the social work program, 2 from Price, and 1 from USC. So I can definitely talk a lot about scholarships.
Hi, my name is Russell. I'm a second year MHA student. I went to undergrad at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I studied psychology there, and I got the APAA scholarship. So if anyone's interested in talking about the APAA scholarship, that's the Asian Pacific Alumni Association scholarship. Yeah, I'll be more than happy to answer questions.
Awesome. Thank you guys. So I guess just to get the ball rolling, when you guys were beginning your scholarship process or search, were there any specific resources that you guys found extremely helpful, more so applying for those external type scholarships?
I can start off. I remember when I first found out that I got accepted, I was like, okay, now how am I going to pay for this? And I literally just looked up like on Google, like scholarships for grad students. And there's a lot of like faulty links, I'll say, or a lot of like clickbait links where it's like just, it'll keep making you click, but a lot of those also have a lot of like compilations of different scholarships. And I think as long as you're willing to comb through like the Google searches and stuff, you will actually find some great stuff. I will say that I think the best resource for me in terms of finding scholarships in general, both external and internal, were actually the folks that I was already connected to. For background, I did work full-time before coming to school. So I had a lot of folks, I was in networks with a lot of folks who already had degrees, and I think they were able to connect me to other scholarships that they think that would fit my criteria or that I would be able to apply for. So I would say, first and foremost, to kind of pull from the people that you already know. I remember, I think I just posted it on Facebook, like literally Facebook or Instagram, an Instagram story or something. And I was just asking folks like, hey, does anyone have any reference for like scholarships, things like that? Because, I didn't have any formal contact with folks. And that was actually really helpful. Some folks pulled me in like, hey, there's a scholarship you might be interested in. There's these other things. Similarly, I think that I also talked to some administration counselors at USC and at the different schools I applied to, and they were really helpful in connecting me to different resources and scholarships that they recommend to students or in general that they knew of. So yeah, even if you haven't been accepted yet, I would totally encourage talking to administration counselors and kind of reaching within your network to find any kind of scholarship and in general thing that you might be able to apply for.
Just to tag along to that a little bit, I talked to my academic director, and she was really helpful in providing like all the USC scholarships. But I also had a lot of organizations I followed through Instagram that I was passionate about, and it was crazy that they had such good scholarship opportunities. So if you have a passion project, you have an organization you follow, definitely look into them. They'll be able to help, or you never know.
I guess
For
just
me,
oh,
oh, you go,
you go
you go,
ahead.
you go.
No, I think I was just gonna add a quick little kind of suggestion. The same thing, kind of just Google searching, the different types of scholarships, especially the USC website does a great job. The financial aid website does a good job of listing out different scholarships that are available both for graduate and undergrad. So yeah, and I feel like because you guys are already here, you guys already have done that extensive research as well. So, but yeah, I would say definitely like the other panelists said, to definitely just keep looking on Google or just through friends or through your academic counselors. For mine, APA, I was actually reminded by one of my friends in the cohort. So yeah, definitely try to just, if you're interested, like definitely ask other people because they might be interested. So just kind of talking it out with other people will definitely give you some more insight into what is out there.
Specific scholarships that I'm part of is the Norman Topping Student Aid Fund. I'm going to put it in the chat. And they are accepting applicants right now. Even if you aren't in, you should still apply. And you'll probably find out that you got in before the application is due. But check that out, as well as the Town and Gown Scholarship. Those are just open to everybody. Check out if you're eligible, though. There are some eligibility requirements. And another really cool website is the USC Scholarship Universe. And that's where I got like a lot of my scholarships from, or at least how I found out about the 2 scholarships I mentioned earlier. And as Matt was saying before, like there's a bunch of like scammy ones. Like apparently I am open to $6 million worth of scholarships, but like how real is that? I don't know. So make sure like you're doing your due diligence and doing the research. And yeah, just have fun with it. Honestly, like I love talking about myself. So that's why scholarship applying was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Cool. And I guess just to add a shameless plug too, I know since I'm going to take a wild assumption that majority of people here were also part of the or applying to the Price School. So all of the additional scholarships they have, like they have some called like the Price Impact, Price Diversity. Those close, I believe, on February 17th. So you guys still have a week to work on them. Just search USC Price Scholarships and a whole list of them will come up. So definitely give it a look because it's a lot of money. I guess the next question I kind of had, can you guys walk through your application process for the scholarships that you guys did get? And then also if you could give a base estimate of how many scholarships that you would recommend applying to as well.
For the APAA specifically, there was 3 short answer questions. It was typically like one of the questions was, it was how has being an Asian American impacted you in today's society, and then how do you see the scholarship helping you with your academics, and then the third was tell me more, like it was more of like a tell more about you in a sense of your background and like just how you came to where you are today. And then there was a letter of recommendation that was required. So that is something that you should keep in mind when it comes to applying to the APAA scholarship. But yeah, overall the process was pretty straightforward for me. And then I think I was notified a month after I applied. There was also a in-person interview process if you got selected. And that was scheduled through one of the coordinators for the APAA scholarship. But yeah, overall it was a great kind of experience in terms of just doing the application, turning it in, and then figuring out if I got the scholarship. So yeah, that was kind of the process for the APAA scholarship.
Yeah, I can piggyback off that. So I got the LGBTQ plus Alumni Association scholarship. It was really similar in that there was 3 basic questions about the kind of like what degree you were in and about yourself. And then they also talked about how your identity, because this is the LGBT plus alumni association, they talked about how your core identity plays into the work you do and how this scholarship might shape the future of the work. So I would say be prepared for that if you're looking for scholarships that are identity centered or that have a central focus on something. It was a similar process in that I also had to do, I think, 1 or 2 interviews. It might have just been 1, but it was like an interview with 2 or 3 people. It was more like a conversation, so it was really casual, but I appreciate that, they took the time to really get to know me, and then they responded within like a week. With that scholarship, there's also other, like, I don't want to say requirements, but other things they recommend folks to do. So like they have me like volunteering with them at least 10 hours in the semester. And then I'm also paired with one of the LGBTQ plus alumni association board members. And so you get like there's like a buddy or mentor system of someone who is alumni, and they like walk you through, different things and resources that they had to. So not only do you get, the benefit of having a scholarship, but you get the opportunity to kind of meet some of the alumni and like be able to learn from whatever resources they have too. I also got the Price Dean Scholarship. So if y'all don't know that one, it's kind of an involuntary basis. If you have applied to USC before, I believe, December 15th, as a grad student, then they kind of look at whether or not you'll qualify for the scholarship, and then whether or not, and then they determine who should receive the scholarship. So that one I didn't specifically apply for, but I was selected as one of the recipients. It's a full ride scholarship, so that's been really critical to being able to pay for tuition and other things on campus. Yeah, there was no actual process for that. So as long as you apply before December 15th, then you're already a part of the applicant pool, and they'll let you know once you get admitted if you get that scholarship or not.
Thank you. Next. So I applied to roughly 10 scholarships, both in USC and then out USC. I did, like, before my application process, I started my tell us about yourself. I think with most scholarships, they do have that. So I really refined that. I worked on that for a while, and it was really just genuinely like what I wanted to tell the scholarship committee. And most of the scholarships I did apply to, because I'm a first-gen immigrant, I fell into like that realm of scholarships. So it was really like how I grew up with, how just general questions with that. And then I did have interviews, very casual, like Bat said. They just want to know more about yourself. So I think as long as you're being honest and you really take the time to refine your essays, you'll be okay.
For me, then I'll specifically talk about the Norman Topping Scholarship. By the way, it's like a $10,000 scholarship a year. So that really helps me. And then I get like a lot of friends as a result of it. Like all of my friends are part of NTSAF. For me, it was an application with letters of recommendation, to which I had to like probably trauma dump. So don't be afraid to not or do trauma dump, because people just love that. However, if you don't have trauma, don't trip. You have a lot to write about so long as you're really genuine about it. And then afterwards, maybe a month and a half later, I found out I got an interview. And then the interview was only like a 20-minute long conversation with a student and a staff member, who the staff member and I are now really great friends. And then I got the scholarship a couple months before I was going to attend USC, and I was scrambling to try and find how I was going to pay, but ended up working out. And it's similar with the Town and Gown Scholarship. Application, interview, you get in, it's great. So just put your best foot forward with the application, whatever you're putting in, make sure it's all genuine.
Cool. And I guess that kind of ties into the next question I had lined up. Were there any like common themes you noticed when you guys were writing your scholarship applications? Or was there a basic thought process you had when you would just begin writing your essays?
I think for me, the common thing is just kind of just to be honest and like kind genuine in terms of where you or why you want to, apply for scholarships. I think all the scholarship foundations kind of know why you are applying in terms of, yeah, this is for your education to kind of help for it financially. But also like kind of, yeah, going more in depth of, I think for me, the biggest thing is just, yeah, taking my life stories and my experiences, either for personal or work, and try to just tie that into what the prompts were asking. Obviously everyone has their own stories, and I think for me it was like the imposter syndrome of like, oh, is my story even, relevant, not relevant, but like important enough to kind of get the scholarship. I definitely had those feelings, but you kind of have to kind of get out of that thought, because yeah, they do want to hear your story, and your story is, unique in its own way. So definitely don't hold back. I think that's the biggest thing that I would probably say when writing out either your personal statements or like the questions, or even in the interviews, just being genuine, kind of just being honest with yourself and then them as well. So yeah.
My biggest thing is that when I was applying to undergrad, I was trying to solve the world's problems in my personal insight questions. And I talked about everything, to which I think I lost myself within that. And I know it's only like 500 words per essay, but my advice to everyone is you can't solve the world's problems in the scholarship essay. So don't try and write about everything. Write about like a very specific moment in time that answers the prompt, and how at the end of the day, like the scholarship's going to impact you, and connect that impact with why you deserve that scholarship and what you're going to do with that scholarship. That was the general theme for me. I just talked about like something really specific and really niche that was really personal to me that not a lot of people probably experience, but it still was relatable by who I think the audience was, which was the scholarship readers.
Yeah, just like a general theme for me was I'm working for a nonprofit, which was Dear Asian Youth, and I also did my minor in Asian studies. So I talked a lot about my passion project and why I wanted to pursue a master's. I think one of the big things is if you're applying for something, they want to know exactly why you're doing it, and what you may do in the future. So if you genuinely are just honest and you talk about your passion for your master's program, then you'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think similar to all the other panelists, really similar themes about being genuine and authentic in your scholarship applications. I feel like this really falls in line with like your personal statement and stuff. It was just in general this idea of like you should really be presenting yourself in the best way that you can and in a way that is authentic to yourself. I think one mistake that I've made in other forms of like applications, personal statements, and like applying to things is like I kept trying to tell my story on the way I think that people would want to hear it and the way I think that admission counselors or scholarship committees would want to hear it. But really, I think as long as you stay true to yourself and the way that you want to express it, that's what they're really looking for. I've had the opportunity to talk to admissions counselors about things like this, and they are definitely, I think they know how to scope out whether or not someone is just, using buzzwords or saying things because students believe that that's the story they need to tell. But really just maintaining authenticity and making sure that, you are connecting your experiences to why you want to receive this scholarship or why you want to be administrated to something, and being able to, again, kind of leverage your experiences to shape that, the idea of like why you want this and why it matters to you and how it'll shape the future of your career.
Cool. I think everyone got the opportunity to answer that question. So the next question I saw from our interest form, some students were curious if anyone had any experience applying for scholarships, specifically once they had started their first year as a graduate student, and just like if their experience once they've actually started as a student had any difference in the application process or anything like that.
Yes, I can go on that. Because I'm a second year, I actually got the LGBTQ plus Alumni Association scholarship while I was a first year student. So I applied when I was going to USC. it was actually really critical for me to be like here on campus at the time, because they had asked me, and it's probably because they, looked at my application and knew that I was in the policy school. They had asked me, if I had worked on any policies surrounding LGBTQ plus issues, or if I was doing research around LGBTQ plus issues since I was applying for that scholarship as a Price grad student. So I'd say if you're in your first year and you're continuing to apply for scholarships, don't be afraid to use the research, the experiences, the things you're learning in class, and putting that in within your application. I would also say expect to put it in your application, because they know that you're there for a reason, and that is a really great way to connect, the things that you're learning on campus to the scholarship.
Sorry, I got logged out. Anthony, do you mind repeating that question?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, just basically like, do you have any experience of applying to scholarships once you began your academic career here as a graduate student, and like if there was just any differences in your when you were applying beforehand versus as an actual student?
Yeah, I think for me, I think before I started grad school, obviously I had more time on my hands. I think it's harder to manage time-wise applying for scholarships while you're in school, but I think there is a fine balance, and I think you will make enough time to kind of do the scholarships and the application process. But yeah, I would definitely encourage you guys to do it before you guys start. But again, during the year, you definitely will find time to fill out those applications. But yeah, I think that's, and then I think there was a question about the API before I logged off. Let me see. So also, that's one writing about being API or being Latinx. Should I apply to both AP? Yeah, I don't see why not. You should apply to both. And in terms of doing work with API, yeah, I did not personally have any community involvement with API at my school. But I know a couple friends who have. And I think you should definitely talk about a lot of what and the DI work that you have done in terms of the work that you have done, and that applies to the scholarship, because they want to hear all experiences. So I think, yeah, definitely using both your ethnicities and applying for both is definitely doable. They don't have, I don't think, a rule against like multi-race and applying to different types of scholarships like that. So yeah, I would definitely apply to both, and not just limit yourself to one, because yeah, it's applicable to you. So I definitely want to encourage that.
Harry or Preet, did you guys have anything else you wanted to add to that, or are you guys cool?
My thing is, if y'all get work study, find a job that's really low key. I have a friend who works at the library, and for some reason the library is so busy that they didn't have time to just like mess around. To which, if you end up coming to school, feel free to like hit me up and I'll tell you where all of the fun work study jobs are. And by fun, I mean you get to just do whatever you want. So I would use my work study time when I had downtime to apply for scholarships. But I agree with Russell, like apply before getting to USC, because your time will get booked up, because there's lots to do at USC, as y'all probably know. And you might not find the time, but again, try and find the time. I found the time at my work study job. Should I have been doing that? I don't know, but don't take advice from me. Actually, you can take advice from me. I don't know yet.
I'm currently still working on my scholarships right now, so I think everyone else knows more.
Cool. Yeah, those were the main questions I saw from our interest form, at least. So now I'll go ahead and open the floor for anyone else that's on the line, wants to ask any questions. And Ruth, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we didn't invite any of the admissions counselors. So for this reason of being a safe space, more than welcome to ask any types of questions that are on your mind. I guess for Christie's question, we were trying to find data on that last year. I think it's about like it's like 40 or 50% of like graduate students get at least some part of the dean's merit. Now, not everyone's getting the full ride part. Like me personally, I only got half of it. But I think I want to say it's near like 40 or 50% of the graduate or Price graduate student population has received that.
I'm not too sure about the MPA program in Sacramento's like specific scholarships, but I will say that the online programs have opportunities and access to the same scholarships that any of like the in-person USC LA campus scholarships do. So don't feel like you're limited because you're in the MPA program or the online Sacramento program, or just the ones outside of USC. Yeah, you can still apply to, you should still be able to apply to all the scholarships that every USC student has access to. I don't know if there's any specific ones towards the MPA program in Sacramento though.
From my knowledge, or I forget what the word I was trying to say. From my recollection, I even found it easier if you were a Sacramento student. Like there was a lot more options for students when school started, because I was applying to scholarships. Oh, by the way, every month the Price School will send a newsletter with scholarships available to y'all. And that's where I was like, oh, damn, these are all for Sacramento students. But then again, there are a lot for USC students as well. So if somebody's concerned about the Sacramento specific scholarships, don't worry, you'll be set.
Cool. I think the next question I see on here also, are there any specific recommendations for the February 17th leadership and diversity scholarships? I don't know if anyone on the panel has any experience with that one.
Actually, so I'm not sure about what writing recommendations exactly, but definitely if you're working on any current projects in diversity inclusion or any sort of organizations with that, I'd definitely talk about that and touch bases on that one.
And then for Karina's question, if there's any specific or Price specific newsletter. Yeah, so you get on that once you actually enroll. They start sending that to you every single month. So. And feel free just to unmute yourself if you want, whatever you feel more comfortable with. From hopefully I'm not mispronouncing your name too badly, from Daisha, do you have any suggestions for students who are outside of California? I know you're from the East Coast. Maybe you can talk on this one.
Yes. So actually, I'm from Pennsylvania. I went to Penn State University, and I did reach out to some of the academic counselors there on scholarships that I can apply outside of organizations. So if you do have a counselor at that you know of in that state, definitely talk to them. They know a lot about that. But also, if you have any other internships that include like in the East Coast, talk to them. I know some of my internships, they offered like additional scholarships that you can apply to from them to for master's program or PhD programs. So just reach out to anyone like you may know that is available, and they can definitely help you out with that.
Cool. Any other questions? Another question. What angles did y'all take on leadership and diversity? In terms of what will you do to foster a culture of diversity at Price? And then they also said, I'm trying to figure out what other angle to take besides I'll create and build on initiatives / be the spearhead of the progress, etc.
I mean, I can't say for sure what the scholarship committee is looking for, but when I applied to that scholarship, I will say that I talked a lot about, what I was doing at Price, especially with MAP and the different communities that we serve. And I think it's also important to be, as Harry mentioned earlier, like as specific as possible. Not in that like you need to outline a program or whatever, but I think if like you really like pinpoint, the area that you're trying to focus on, whatever area that is, I think that's going to be more helpful than just talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in a broad and general sense. Yeah, that's the best advice I can give. I applied to that scholarship and I did not receive it, so I don't want to continue like putting out information when I didn't get it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Same. I didn't get it. I didn't get it either, but I'm gonna try again by the 17th. And the angle I'm going at it is I always want to try and surprise the reader. So bringing awareness to a group that's not particularly talked about. For instance, like when we think of diversity, we probably think of physical attributes that we're able to see, but I kind of want to look at things that we're not able to see. And so I'm going to be writing about those who have been afflicted with like traumatic responses and how I want to be an advocate for them, and because they deserve equitable representation as much as everyone else does. So my advice is, again, get very specific and try and find something new that they haven't read, because they're probably going to be reading like thousands of applications. And if they read about the same thing over and over again, they're going to be like, well, I don't know which one to pick, so I'm not going to pick either. But I'm going to pick that one that talks about something new. However, I'm not a reader, so take that with a grain of salt.
Gotcha. And then to answer Nicole's question of when admissions decisions are sent out for people who applied by that priority deadline to December 15th. For me personally, at least, I think mine came like the first or second week of February. I'm not sure for any of the other panelists that were that applied by the priority deadline. Were they around that timeline too, or a little bit earlier?
I'm trying to find the exact date because I keep all of my admissions letters in one folder because I like looking at them because I'm so self-obsessed with myself.
I do. Oh, sorry.
Mine was February 25th, and I applied on the 15th of December.
Russell, you want to go?
Well, no, I just wanted to, while we were waiting, just add on top of what Kristen's question was in terms of what other angles. I think in terms of obviously going off the initiatives of what's being said in the current news, but I think more talking about how you can be a leader within your own community in terms of your even family and friends, like how you can kind of lead them into thinking about different things about diversity and inclusion. I think a lot of like Matt and essays kind of talk about the overarching and big kind of issues that we're dealing with in society, but not a lot is talked about what you do within the people that you interact with every day. So I think that's something that I took a really deep angle on when I wrote about my APA leadership aspect as well. It's like how I interacted with the everyday people that I see every day or interact with every day at work or at home. So yeah, I would also kind of try to see how you can, tie your story into that.
Cool. I think we answered everyone's question in the chat. Any other questions?
Yeah, hey, I have a question, but I'm myself, so I can't raise my hand. Question is, so I've seen some scholarships that kind of ask the question, what school are you currently enrolled at or potentially thinking about enrolling into? And since admissions hasn't like really sent out those, the letters, I have been sort of like, waiting until the last day and some of those deadlines are approaching. What would you recommend?
Anyone on the panel want to take that one?
I would just say apply. I mean, I definitely do get that pickle of you waiting to see if you got in and then seeing if it's even worth applying for the scholarship. I would say just apply in general for the scholarship. And then, I mean, if you don't get in, then, I mean, it sucks. But at the same time, if you do get in, like at least you're able to, apply for that scholarship and beat the deadline. So I would say it doesn't hurt to just apply, even though it might be like, if it doesn't turn out that you get into the program, at least you kind of know that, okay, you did it before the deadline and that you got it in. So I would say just apply.
Yeah, I think similar thoughts. I think it's safer to apply than not. For me, I literally have a document with like every scholarship and application question I've answered. And I kind of use that as a reference as I like continue to write out more applications or apply to more things, and am able to kind of craft a statement or what's called respond to the questions that they asked based off of that document. So in that way, it doesn't feel like a hassle every time I have to apply to a new scholarship, right? I already have like reference material from things I've already written in the past. I also applied to like 3 to 4 scholarships, and I really only got one of them that I applied for, the LGBT+ Alumni Association one. So I feel like I would have regretted it more if I just didn't apply. And yeah, if I just didn't apply, like at least I tried my best to get it. So I feel like it's worth it to apply, and even if you don't get it or you don't get admitted, at least you know that you put in your most effort, and then that what the material you use to apply for can be used for future reference.
Gotcha. Next question we got on here. Are there any opportunities for fellowships through USC Price as well? Do you guys know of any on the panel?
Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Okay. So international public policy does have fellowships. So depending on your program, I think it depends. You do like for us, it was automatically considered. So once I was accepted to the program, they sent out an email whether you get that fellowship or not. But I don't know what other programs are like.
There is an additional application, and if you already applied, so I'm part of the city and county management fellowship, and it's one of the best decisions I made. It's a lot of fun. I made such great friends. So if you're interested in local government type affairs, definitely apply for that. It's when you apply to the school, and if you've already applied and you want to apply, feel free to look up the academic advisor for that on the Price website to see if you can still apply. But yeah, the City County Management Fellowship, CMF, top dogs.
Gotcha. Then the next question I got on here, specifically, if you guys know of any international scholarships for someone who's Black. And it just seems like from their description that they're kind of struggling finding something within that regard that addresses that. I don't know. I guess for anyone else that was, I guess, from a diversity perspective that we're looking, like maybe for Russell, like how did you find your scholarship?
So for me, I just went to the USC website, the USC financial aid website, and then also USC has a scholarship website. Um, so I would just go through the categories through that website. And I'm sure if you don't see the category that kind of fits what you're looking for, I think they do have an office hour and someone who has a counselor there that can actually kind of help you lead into a scholarship that fits what you're looking for. So yeah, I definitely would look at through the USC scholarship or financial aid website.
Yeah, I didn't find any scholarships through like I don't know, I didn't find identity-based scholarships just by like looking through them. I actually like found those in like the monthly scholarships that the Price newsletter sends out. And so they would just list, you know, a bunch of scholarships, and they also have the descriptions of like, this scholarship pertains to this community, this scholarship pertains to people of this group or whatever. And I think that was really helpful that they kind of disaggregated that. And that's how I found like the LGBTQ plus alumni association one. Similar to Russell, I think if you're looking for identity-based or like interest-based scholarships, a good place to get connected to are like the USC cultural centers. So I work at the Asian Pacific American Student Services one, and like we actually have like maybe not like a complete list, but we do know how to direct people to resources of like, if you're looking for a specific type of resource with this cultural group, with this identity group, you might want to turn here, right? So I know there's a Black Culture Center on campus. It might be good to reach out to them to see if they have any resources on identity-centered scholarships.
Cool. Any other questions? Going once, going twice.
I saw a question about, I think FAFSA from Karen A in the chat. Do you know if there's any organizations that help with filling out FAFSA when you're applying to graduate school? I am not entirely sure. I remember that I just had to do everything myself.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of going on top of Matt. I contacted the financial aid office. Like literally, honestly, for me, I don't know about you guys, but the financial aid office at USC is my go-to therapy session. Go to resource, go to best friend sometimes. Literally use the USC financial aid office as much as possible because the counselors there are very helpful. So I would just utilize that.
Thank you for catching that, Matt. Any other questions? Cool. Well, thank you again for everyone attending this. I hope you gained something from it. We'll go ahead and send this out at the once we finish recording this. But yeah, actually, you know what, if all the panelists, do you guys mind maybe dropping your emails in the chat too? Just in case if anyone else wants to try reaching out.
Yeah, feel free to reach out. More than happy to be a resource, or if I can provide you any support, direct you to any like USC services, can totally try to do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for everyone for attending this. Hope everyone has a good rest of your Friday. And I guess if the MAP team doesn't mind staying on for like an extra 30 seconds.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
I love the Maple Story plug.
Always gotta.